So whereas we usually talk about one movie, one book, and one music album, today we kind of have an amalgamation of things because we're going into the universe or the world of the franchise that is that bad mother Shaft. Okay. So obviously, from a movie standpoint, most people know the original Shaft, 1971, kind of was one of the catalysts that kicked off the Blaxploitation movement. Shaft, Superfly, Sweet Sweet Black's Badass Revenge. Those were kind of the ones that really got Blaxploitation going per se. And taking you back to a prior episode, the movie Superfly even being the the movie that spawned the term Blaxploitation. Okay, but Shaft, as a franchise man, the character Black Private Dick John Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, um, Shaft is my favorite Blaxploitation character. So when I think of, you hear me say, King of Blaxploitation as an actor, Fred Williamson. Jim Brown was up there with him neck and neck because of all the movies they did. But the three quintessential characters themselves, so not the actors, but the actual character, was Shaft, Youngblood Priest from Superfly, played by Ron O'Neal, and then Goldie from the Mac, played by Max Julian. Those were to me the quintessential top three Blaxploitation characters, and then you got to throw in kind of like a combination of Pam Grier, Coffee, and Foxy Brown, those two together. Okay. But the reason John Shaft is my favorite is because Shaft is the one Blaxploitation character I don't have to feel guilty about wanting to be like. You know what I'm saying? Like coming up in the 70s, the Blaxploitation characters, a lot of us, wanted to emulate those guys. But when you look at, Priest from Superfly, he was a drug dealer. Goldie, he was a pimp. So wanting to be like those guys, you kind of feel a little bit guilty because, they're on the wrong side of the law. Whereas John Shaft was a private detective, legal, did his own thing and was just bad, man. So that is why he's my favorite because it's just, I don't have any guilt about wanting to emulate and be like John Shaft. Okay. But with that in mind, let's talk about the movies. So in the movie franchise, there were three during the Blaxploitation era. You have the original, 1971. What this one's about is Shaft helps gangster Bumpy Jonas rescue his daughter from the mob. And this sort of set off the the power of Black films during the 70s as well, because the original Shaft only had a $500,000 budget, but made over 13 million at the box office. So people started to realize that, hey, there's some money in these Black films. Okay. The second one in the series was Shaft's Big Score. And in that one, Shaft investigates and ultimately avenges the death of a friend. This one, because of the success of the first one, he wound up getting, or they wound up getting a bigger budget, and Gordon Parks did the second one as well. It was a $2 million budget and generated 10 million at the box office. So still, made more than its money back, its weight in gold, I should say. The third one wasn't as successful. They, for whatever reason, sent Shaft over to Africa. So Shaft in Africa was technically considered a flop. And the plot behind this one is, Shaft is kidnapped and taken to Africa to help break up a human trafficking ring. It had about a $1.5 million budget, but only did about $1 million at the box office. So this one was not all of that. Okay. And then, I know, well, before I get to the more recent iterations of it, let's talk about what not a lot of people know is that Shaft also became a TV series on CBS. And from 1973 to 1974, there were 7 TV movies made, but the TV series didn't do that well either. And the reason being is because Shaft himself was toned down a lot. I mean, you can, even if you look at this picture, you could see, Richard Roundtree looks way more laid, just laid back and toned down. But I mean, he even said it himself with regards to the TV shows, the Shaft from the movies. You couldn't put that guy on TV. I mean, they just at that time you couldn't put that Shaft on TV. But the audience knew it as well because with this Shaft that they got on TV, they were not happy at all, and thus it only lasted for like 7 TV movies. Now, for me, coming up in the '70s, this was actually my first introduction to Shaft because I was too young to go see Shaft, Shaft's Big Score, and Shaft in Africa in theaters. I mean, again, this might have been one that my mom may have taken me to go see, but what I remember, the Shaft I remember from being a kid is from the TV series. And so to me, I was like, oh, it's cool. But when I got older and went and watched the movies, I too realized how watered down the TV series was in comparison to the movies, and it just did not fly at all. And the other thing is, because of the star power and or how powerful and how popular Shaft was, Richard Roundtree did a movie in 1975. It was called Diamonds, but it was now what I've read, they said it was re-released as Diamond Shaft. I've only seen it as Diamond Shaft when it was repackaged and put out on VHS, on videotape. I don't know if it was re-released in theaters, but anyway, the movie had nothing to do with Shaft at all. It's just in the credits they have starring Richard Shaft Roundtree, but apparently, I guess to try to capitalize on the popularity in and of itself, they billed that one as Diamond Shaft. Okay, but that is sort of you know, uh, your Shaft movies aspect. So, yeah, if you haven't, I mean, hopefully you've seen one, at least one, but if not, definitely check it out. But those main three, Shaft, Shaft's Big Score, Shaft in Africa, got to check those out. Right. But here's the thing, the remakes. So in 2000, they remade Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson, and then I think 2019 they remade it again, or they did the sequel to that. Now I know for a lot of younger people that would have been your first introduction to Shaft as a character and not knowing much about Richard Roundtree. But just as a diehard Blaxploitation original Richard Roundtree, Shaft fan, I love Samuel L. Jackson as an actor, but the Samuel L. Jackson Shaft movies sucked. I mean, I'm just gonna tell it my opinion. They sucked to me, and even though they had Richard Roundtree in them, they just still, you can't do Shaft, man. So I just was unhappy with them. Nevertheless, we still have the original big three: Shaft, Shaft's Big Score, Shaft in Africa. If you have it, go check them out.